Shalom Aleichem. My name is Tony Pino, and today we are going to continue in our series concerning, is it law and grace, or is it law versus grace? Which is it? Today we're going to be looking at some passages about the food laws. We are going to be looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 8, because sometimes I am taken there by some of my Western Christian friends, and they will try and show that, yes, we are permitted to eat whatever we want. We can eat pork, we can eat shellfish. Paul gives us permission to eat anything. And so let's go ahead and go to those passages and see, is that really what Paul is intending? Let's find out. So 1 Corinthians chapter 8, let's go. Amen. So here we are in 1 Corinthians chapter 8. It says, now concerning idol sacrifices, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If anyone thinks he knows anything, he doesn't yet know as he ought to know. But if anyone loves God, he is known by him. Therefore, concerning the eating of idol sacrifices, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is no God but one. So Shaul is letting them know that when it comes to some type of statue or some type of stone representation of a god, that nothing dwells in that statue. Those demons or principalities that they worship are not inside that statue, okay? Because that was known in that way in the ancient world, that those gods indwelled those statues or stones or images. And so when you prayed to them, you were speaking to that God, he was or she was there, okay? Now, there is only one true God, amen? In other words, Yahweh is the only true God. He's uncreated and infinite, and he is over all of his creation. Any demons or principalities, amen, are part of his creation. Now, verse 5, for even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, so there are what we call Elohim in the Bible. Elohim is the plural form for gods. It's a generic term, and that can be used of many principalities, amen? Yahweh is Elohim, all right? He's called Elohim in the Bible, but he is unique because not all Elohim are called Yahweh, only one, okay? Because he is uncreated and infinite. All the other Elohim are created principalities, angelic beings, okay? And there are many of those, and some of those are fallen, and they're set over the nations, and they cause man to worship them. Men and women will worship them as idols, as gods, and so this is where we get a lot of the fallen nations doing blasphemous things against Yahweh, because these pagan principalities who became fallen, all right, they were created by Yahweh, but now they are fallen, teaching man to do blasphemous things. And so we go on to verse 6. Yet for us there is one God, the Father, from whom all things, and we exist for him, and one Lord, Yeshua the Mashiach, through whom are all things, and we exist through him. So what Shaul is doing is the Shema. The Shema is the most common prayer known in the Jewish faith, and that is in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. And so it's declaring that we serve and worship the one true Yahweh. But now it's combining Yeshua on that same level. In other words, Yeshua is of the same essence and nature as the Father, even though they are distinct and separate. And even though the Father is greater in position than Yeshua, they are still of the same essence and nature, meaning they're both uncreated and infinite. So Shaul is connecting Yeshua on that level with the Father. All other principalities are created beings, okay? Verse 7, but that knowledge is not in everyone. Some, so accustomed to idols up until now, eat food as an idol sacrifice, and their conscience, being weak, is defiled. Why? Because in the ancient world, they believed, or oftentimes they believe, I should say, that when you ate of that food sacrificed to the idol, you are actually partaking of that deity, of that principality. Like something mystical or magical happened to the meat, where you were either right there communing with that deity, or you were actually consuming something mystical or magical, a part of that deity. All right. And this is where we see that defilement within the Roman Catholic Church on transubstantiation. When you eat the bread and drink the wine, you are partaking literally of the body of Yeshua, drinking the blood of Yeshua in that sense. There is this mystical, magical thing that is an abomination to Yahweh, but was thought that way in the ancient world. Now, Paul, Shaul, and the others have this knowledge that that is really not so. But there are others that grew up with that knowledge, and so they are defiling themselves in that way. Their conscience, all right, them believing, I am doing this, I am partaking of this deity as I eat this meat, is defiling them. Okay? Others have a knowledge, they know that that's not true, and so within their conscience, they're not weak. Amen. Verse 8. But food will not bring us before God. We are no worse off if we do not eat, and no better off if we do eat. In other words, when you have this knowledge, okay, and you are eating this meat, does this actually bring you closer to Yahweh or not? No. Okay. It is what you believe in your mind. Amen. It's what you believe in your heart, that this food has nothing in it. Okay. This is not giving you permission to eat from the unclean list. All right. The Torah is what? It tells you what is clean and what is unclean. And so what this is pertaining to is food on the clean list, but has been offered to an idol. Some people don't have the same knowledge as other people, that there's really nothing in that meat. Okay. And if you didn't participate in the ceremony, it's just meat. Amen. You're not worshiping another deity, another principality. You're just eating meat. Okay. And the fact that you are eating this meat doesn't make you closer to Yahweh or farther than Yahweh. Okay. Doesn't, it's just meat. All right, let's go ahead and go on. But watch out that this freedom of yours does not somehow become a stumbling block to the weak. For suppose someone sees you who have this knowledge dining in an idol temple. If his conscience is weak, won't he be emboldened to eat idol sacrifices? So Shaul is making this big hyper exaggeration, okay, to make a point. Okay, obviously a believer in Yeshua is not going to be in an idol temple eating the meat, but he is just making this point that what if, okay, someone who doesn't have this knowledge, that you're just sitting there eating meat, you didn't participate in the ceremony, you know what I mean? You're not trying to worship that deity, you're just having a meal. They think something's in the meat. They think you're communing, trying to become one with that deity. And because you're a believer in Yeshua, believer in Yahweh, hey, it must be okay for them to do it. All right? Because that would be common in the ancient world for you to have multiple gods and try to worship multiple gods, to manipulate them in order to maybe, get some good fortune or some good luck going your way. And so you have this knowledge that nothing is in the meat. You didn't participate in it. So you know it's permissible to eat, but others don't know that. They don't have that same knowledge. If they see you eating meat that was once offered to an idol, they don't have the same knowledge as you do, and so you may cause them to stumble. Let's go on. For the one who is weak is destroyed by your knowledge, the brother from whom Messiah died. In this way, when you sin against the brothers and sisters and wound their conscience when it is weak, you sin against Messiah. For this reason, if food causes my brother to stumble, I will never eat meat again, so that I do not cause my brother to stumble. So this is very obvious that this chapter is all about you loving your neighbor more than yourself, holding others higher than yourself. Amen. Even though you have permission and it's permissible for you to do some things, when it comes to eating meat on the clean list, amen, just because it's permissible for you, you may cause someone else to stumble. They don't have the same knowledge as you do. So you are to beware of others, hold others in higher regard than yourself. Amen. Nothing in here is giving you permission to eat from the unclean list of Leviticus 11. And so are we still to keep the dietary laws? Absolutely. Amen. We are just supposed to look out for our neighbor when it comes to certain things that we have knowledge of that they may not have. Amen. And so, is it law and grace, or is it law versus grace? It is law and grace. Amen. And so, until we meet again, everyone, shalom.